Having Herbal Helpers on hand when you're sick is a blessing. It is also a blessing to keep healthy by adding herbs to your everyday diet. Herbs are concentrated, nutrition-filled superfoods that are for the most part free in your own backyard. Hi, I'm Mary Bourne, traditional naturopath, and I love sharing remedies to help people feel better and to act fast on injuries. In this month of July, I decided to talk about plants as teachers and helpers. And here with me today is my good friend and neighbor, Deb.
Hi. Morning.
And we're going to share some fun stuff about how I've been working with some of our gifts. Last week I talked to you about St. John's wort, and I made a lovely salve with that was the comfrey one, but I also made some oil with Melissa and St. John's wort. Now, the interesting thing about this is it helps with anxiety. I saw a video with a woman who made a salve for her cat, who is not really a salve, but a dropper for her cat who has hyperthyroid. And she used Melissa and bugleweed and valerian, and she gives it to her cat, and it calms the cat down, and the thyroid is doing better. So it's really interesting if you go on the internet how many people are using homemade salves and ointments and different things to support their health. So I forgot to mention, now my St. John's wort is it was gifted to me. It's not one that is very lush. It's pretty scrawny as St. John's wort goes. But if you check out the leaf of a St. John's wort and you hold it up to the light, I don't know if you can see that, Deb, but there's little perforations in the leaf itself.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is where it got its name, Hypericum perforatum. So that means the leaves actually have perforation. They also, because, people ask me why is it called St. John's wort, it shows during the latter month of June where we celebrate St. John's birth. And also, if you take, and I'm not going to do it because I don't want my fingers to stain, but if you take the blossom and the dead part of the blossom and rub your fingers together, it is red. And when you put it in oil, that will stain the oil bright red, like St. John's blood. And so it's kind of an interesting part of it. We know how wonderful it is for the nervous system. And so I've made several different things with it. And another interesting thing about St. John's wort is that if you take it internally, it makes you more photosensitive. And that means that people who have seasonal affective disorder, taking vitamin D and using a St. John's wort supplement can really make a difference through the winter, that you don't get the blues and feel sad, and you can go on. It's just a bright, sunny herb, and it continues that vibrationally through you. And there's lots of research that backs that up as far as helping with depression, that it is a wonderful source. And in Europe, used primarily, their use of drugs is way less than ours. Drugs are promoted like candy here in the United States, and we really need to make sure that we cut that down, especially with young people. We've got to be more cognizant about how this is affecting them. So one of the ways you can use St. John's wort, and here's what's interesting, is by making a sunburn lotion. So you can protect your skin against the sun with St. John's wort and some aloe vera gel and a little bit of lavender, and you can either make a lotion or a spray with this, and there's lots of YouTube videos showing you how to do this, so I don't really want to go into that. That wasn't my thing today, but I just wanted to make note of how wonderful St. John's wort really is, and that we should make use of it more. So, you know, I am not one to spread toxins on my body. If I can find a solution to a problem or a potential problem without using chemicals, I will. And I will share with my friends and whoever is willing to listen, right? So now we know that the sun provides vitamin D and that we really need to have some sun exposure, and it's important for our health. A lot of us, people like us who live in Michigan, don't get very much sun, so we need to supplement with vitamin D. There is a lot of really good research out there that shows that vitamin D is support for the immune system. It helps prevent cancer. If you go to the doctor and you ask to be tested for vitamin D, you can actually get results from that, and now they will tell you that 40 is good. They measure in nanoliters per milliliter, and so NLMG is milligram. Then you can boost your vitamin D by taking a supplement, and I love Nature Sunshine because I've seen such wonderful results with that, and get it up to about 80. 80 is preventing osteoporosis, it helps prevent cancer, it boosts the immune system, and so I encourage people who are struggling with that to make sure that their vitamin D levels are between 80 and 90, and you will see great results with that. Even if you're in 40 to 50, you're still preventing a lot of conditions. But people who are struggling with those conditions need to make sure that they're taking adequate amounts. And the test is not one that's often given. You have to actually ask the doctor for it. So, that's one way you can do it. If you want, if you know you're going to be out in the sun for a long period of time, use an umbrella. You should see what the Chinese do. You know, they walk around all the time with an umbrella, and that's their shade. Or you wear protective clothing. But stay away from sunscreens. There's so much research that says that they're a contributing factor to skin cancer. So you certainly don't want that. So yesterday I made a glycerin mixture of 2/3 organic vegetable glycerin. Now, you can get this at most health food stores. You want to make sure it's food grade vegetable glycerin, because there is also petroleum glycerin out there, and you do not want to put anything petroleum in or on your body. So that includes Vaseline. You do not want to put that on your body. You can create wonderful salves and not have to use petroleum. So I made this mixture. Now, usually what you do is you put 2/3 glycerin in a jar and fill it 1/3 water. Now, some people will say 3/4 to 1/4, but here's why I do it that way. Glycerin is really, really sweet. Now, you do want it to help pull out the good ingredients out of what plant matter you're putting in here, but I have found that it's really too sweet when I do it 3/4, so I do 2/3, and then 1/3 of the water, and to that I add a tablespoon of silver. This is an antimicrobial, and it'll keep your mixture free from microbes and perfectly fine to heat it. So when you put in your water, it turns cloudy, so you stir it up, and that gets rid of the cloudiness like instantly. So then that's ready to be poured into whatever mixture you want to draw out. So whatever your herbs you're going to do. Now you can get the glycerin online from, if you belong to thrivemarket.com, it's like $7 for a quart, or you can go to Mountain Rose Herbs and buy it that way. You can also buy it from Whole Food, but you'll probably pay an arm and a leg for it there. You can also buy it in bulk. If you're really going to do this for lots of friends and everything, you can buy a gallon of it on Amazon. But I really like to go through the small businesses if I can. So I use St. John's wort and Melissa officinalis, which is lemon balm, because when I talked about it last week, I saw that one of the benefits of this is for memory retention and cognitive thinking. And you know what? Coming on to be 76, I need all the help I can get. So then what I'm going to do is, hey Kirk, good morning to you. I'm going to pour this mixture into a dropper bottle so that it'll be easy for us. Then we can put it in smoothies. Actually, you can put it in anything, teas, coffee, anything. Just get it in you. And it's just a fun way, and it tastes great. And anything we can do to help support our health is really beneficial. So I've often mentioned that I don't use the herbs from my garden primarily for my health. I use Nature Sunshine herbs to keep me healthy. I try the best I can at eating a good diet and doing what I can to promote my health. These are just adjuncts that are fun to do and share with others, and they really work. So the salves and tinctures I make are in addition to what I do with diet and supplementation. Plus, you know, like I said, they're fun, and they're something I can have on hand. So it's really, really important. Have things on hand that in the middle of the night, thanks for the emoji and heart, in the middle of the night, and you're hurting, you've got a terrible headache that's woken you up, you can take a salve, rub it on your temples, the base of your neck, go back to bed, and within minutes the headache's gone. How miraculous is that? You know, instead of struggling and having a miserable day the next day because you haven't had enough sleep. So learn about herbs and help yourself get healthy and be healthy. So one of the things I want, by the way, if you want to learn more about herbs, you can go to my website, bornforhealth.com, and look at the sidebar that says Herb Encyclopedia, and all the herbs that, like there's 600 different herbs listed, and it tells all of what that can do. It's also essential oils, and then the research that backs up what is mentioned in that article. Yeah. And so you can learn a lot by just reading these research things. Now, a lot of people will go to like PubMed. You realize that PubMed is pharmaceutically driven. It is written by pharmacists and medical doctors that want to give you their view on supplements and herbs. Recently, Google has interfered with many of the resources that I've gone to. They've taken Mercola.com off of their top 10 lists. I mentioned this in my newsletter on Monday, yesterday, and I've given you some resources that are trustworthy, scientifically driven resources that I go to when I want to learn about conditions or natural ways to work with these conditions. So this is, again, on the sidebar. You can look at the newsletter there, and it will give you yesterday's newsletter in total. If you want it mailed to you, email each Monday is when I send them out. Just send me an email saying drmary@bornforhealth.com, and mention that you want the free newsletter, and I'll be happy to subscribe it. If you don't have time to read it anymore and you want to unsubscribe, that's easy too. So just send me a thing saying unsubscribe. So some of the other things that I have in my garden are eucalyptus. Now this is a wonderful herb to support respiratory health. And you can smell it just by ripping off the leaf. Can you smell it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it smells
And this is great for upper respiratory congestion. So like you have something and you know you need to cough it out, eucalyptus can do that for you. Now what I want to use it for, it's antimicrobial like the silver, and I'm going to make a spray because next week or Saturday I'm going up north to visit my brother, and he's created this little park, and I know there's going to be lots of mosquitoes in this little park. So what I do is this is a citronella. Now you can just rub the leaves of this and smell it.
Oh, wow.
It's lemony, and I love it. Not everybody likes the smell of citronella, but I don't like the fake handles, but I love this. So years ago when we first moved here, we could count on about 5 mosquitoes attacking us as we exited the back door because it was a shady area, and they just, the dampness stayed there. And so I planted 2 citronella, I call them my centuries, 2 citronella plants by the back door in pots. And ever since I've done that, nil on the mosquitoes.
Wow.
And when it rains, the scent just goes into the air and just keeps the mosquitoes away. So when you have that dampness, coming off the leaf, and that the mosquitoes just go away. So I'm going to make a salve, not really a salve, a spray, with our citronella. And so what I will do is I will pour boiling water over this and let it steep. This is called an infusion. Let it steep for a half hour. Then I will strain it out. I will add some silver and some aloe vera gel, and I'll shake it up, and that will be my spray. And so I'll let you know how well it works. But I've done this before, and I know that it does work. I've given it to people, and one lady said she went up north and the black flies were terrible, and she said that was the only thing that kept them from attacking her. So citronella is really, really wonderful. If you want more information on that, I will post a recipe down further so you can have that. But it's a lovely, lovely plant that you can buy. I was reading this morning on how to preserve it because every spring I buy one, and this spring for some reason they were difficult to find. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off some leaves and let them root and make a cutting, and then through the winter I'll create my own plants. So making your own things it's so rewarding. It's really fun, and especially when you use it and you keep getting confident in how they help you heal. Like my tip on the lavender, I keep lavender in my kitchen because if you get a burn and you act on it quickly, you can pour lavender directly on the burn and rub it in, and the pain will disperse immediately. Now, a lot of people will run it under cold water and they'll use butter or whatever. If you have this lavender, it's just such a great tool. So you rub it and rub it and rub it until there's no more pain, and then you go on your business. Now, that maybe takes about 5 minutes. And I mean, it'll seem like longer, but it really, really doesn't take much time. I've prevented blisters, redness. It's been wonderful. So
Is that the bud you rub on there, the leaf? Or?
no, I use the lavender essential oil.
Okay.
And that's a good point, though, because you don't always have lavender growing, and it's the oil that does the
But you could use the plant bud or something?
You could use the plant, but, by the time you go out and pick it, and it's not always growing.
Yeah, that's
so having lavender oil on hand, I think, is an essential tool for your kitchen. And so you can rub it and rub it. And if the pain comes back, sometimes it does, an hour and a half later, make sure you apply the lavender again. And the thing is that you want to do the rubbing, because the rubbing gets the bad cells, the harmed, injured cells out of the way for new cells to come in and do the repair. So rubbing is essential. Now, a lot of us will rub it and then we go on our way. Well, that's not nearly enough. You've got to really rub it to create good circulation. So yesterday, it was in the 90s. I saw Deb out there. She was playing in the water with her.
Yeah, only place to be on the days like that.
So what I decided to do was start some herb salt that I can use during the winter. So it's a great way to preserve some of the herbs that you're growing and have it in the winter time. So I have in here, now they're not quite dry. They'll be really crispy and crumbly when they're dry, but they're getting there. And so you can air dry them. I took them out of the porch area because it rained really hard and that humidity was interfering with them drying. So I have parsley, purple basil, a little bit of rosemary, some sage, and this will make a lovely herb salt. Now, after that's dried, then I will pulverize it in my
Poultice or whatever that's called.
Yes, in my food mill, and then add some beautiful herb salt. Now you can do the Celtic salt, or I really like this salt. First of all, it's born in the USA. It comes from Utah, and it's just a wonderful mineral salt. And you can get it in coarse or fine grind. And so that's why I wait until it's all mixed up, and then I use it, the fine grind. And, you can do it to taste how much salt you want. And but it's another way to extend these powerful herbs that are growing now, and we want to be able to have them in the winter months. So some people don't have the herbs growing. Maybe you live in an apartment. But I want to tell you that you can make a glycerin out of any dried herb, and that includes these dried herbs like Nature Sunshine has. So you simply open up the capsule, dump the contents into a jar. Now, you can also make teas with these. I have used these. My husband has leg cramps, and they'll come on him like so suddenly, and he's in terrible pain. Now, Nature Sunshine has something called safflower, and we have used safflower to help him immediately get rid of those pains. We make a tea. You open up 2 capsules of the safflower, you dump it into a cup, and then add boiling water and a little lemon juice because the safflower is really nasty tasting. So a little lemon juice makes it palatable. And then by the time that tea is made and he sips on it, it's gone. It's like magic. It's so wonderful that you can find something that simple and that you can use it in your kitchen to get rid of it. Now, how does that work? Well, safflower herb, not the oil herb, has a chemistry in it that goes directly to lactic acid and dissolves it. And when you're working around, you build up lactic acid in your muscles, and that's what causes that cramp. You know, maybe you've had a toe cramp, and you're walking and you're trying to get rid of that toe cramp. Well, if this is something that you have on a regular basis, it would behoove you to buy a jar of safflower capsules. The capsule prevents any oxidation, so it's perfect. Good for like 5 or 6 years, for crying out loud. I think we use the same, you know how you open 2 capsules, that jar is going to last a long time. So once you have your herbs in your jar, then you pour that solution I mentioned about the glycerin in water into it. You let it steep. Then you want to pass it through a cloth to get any herbs out, because the herb itself will ferment, and you don't want to do that. So you want to get out as much of the herb product as you can, and then you can put it in a little jar like this and make sure that you label it. Always that you have some sticky labels
and
date it.
right?
Yep. So you know when you did it, what's in it, and then you can repeat it. And I just got the high sign that my time is getting up. So I hope that you've been enjoying today's class. Share this information with others. There are a lot of people out there that would benefit from using natural remedies for
pets.
health.
And pets.
And pets, of course. Thank you for bringing that into it. So show somebody else how to make a liquid herb out of some of the kitchen things that you have on hand. Like maybe you've got rosemary, thyme, and sage, and you want to improve your memory. Put them in a glycerin. Do some drops of it. It's certainly not going to hurt anything. They're simply herbs from the cupboard. And maybe it'll help you focus on things. So recommend these videos to others so that we can share the hope that goes into natural remedies. Keep focusing on gratitude. Be thankful for people like my wonderful neighbors and gifts of natures, the flowers and all the joy around you, even those things you call weeds. Thank you for viewing. Until next week, this is Dr. Mary for the health of it.